Hello, I am Brian Loy, and this is a history of Verona, Italy in one comprehensive video. Oh, Verona, the place where the popular play Romeo and Juliet takes place in. You know that play where two people fall in love, get married, then die within a little over 4 days. You know, Romeo and Juliet, the play that spawned multiple parodies, spin-offs, reimaginings, Romeo and Juliet. Anyways, the city of Verona is located in northern Italy, close by the border in modern-day Austria and Switzerland. Its humble beginnings are unknown and mostly speculation, but for now, we're going to focus on Roman Verona all the way up to modern-day Verona. It is 69 AD. Verona is a Roman colony. For the Romans, Verona was a trade hub and a strategic city, as it connected 4 major roads. This is where northern Italy connects with the rest of Europe. The Romans left behind a bunch of structures that solidified their control over Verona, for instance, the Verona Arena. I'm going to briefly go over what happened after the fall of the Western Roman Empire and the events in the early medieval era. During the fall of the Western Roman Empire, some tribes started making moves into Verona. The Visigoths tried and failed, but the Ostrogoths, they took the city, and then they lost it. Then a guy, who was the king of the Lombards, takes it. Then he's killed by his wife. And this guy tried using the city as his last defiant stand against the king of the Franks, Charlemagne. Then he switched hands with some nations and finally laid in the hands of Zinlino. It's also a democracy now. This is a few hundred years in the future. And then he kills some people and then he dies. And then the people choose this guy, Mastino, who fails to be re-elected and goes back to his comfortable life after being such an important figurehead of Verona. Just kidding. He orchestrates a coup d'etat and is back in power, and also ruins the democratic structure. And then he dies. His son Alberto does some more, then gives his power to one of his 3 sons, Congrande, who conquered some cities, and then he dies. His nephew, who may or may not be similar to Mastino, is leading with Alberto. Wait, didn't Alberto die a few years back? Okay, back to Mastino II. He continues Congrande's legacy and takes Brescia, buys a couple of cities, then becomes one of the richest men at that time. Then he also gets an entire league of Italian city-states to hate him. After some more of these jealous city-states, they lose all their cities except 2, Verona and Vicenza. Then, Mastino II is succeeded by Congrande II. He also turns out to be a complete tyrant who was cruel and did not trust his people. He was then assassinated by his brother Casignorio, who beautified the city with palaces, monuments, and a state treasury. After he is succeeded by his illegitimate son, Bartholomew, Bartholomew is killed by Antonio, who is his brother. After this, the people were suspicious of Antonio, and then abandoned him when Ghilandolazzo of Milan went to war with him. He fled Verona during the night, and Antonio's son, Confresco, tried to take Verona back, but had no luck with that. But Guglielmo, the natural son of Congrande II, was more fortunate, because with the support of the people, he drove the Milanese out, but then died 10 days later. And during this chaos, Verona sadly had to fall to Venice. After this, the city was heavily impacted by the plague, as almost 60% of its population had died to it. Skip forward 100 years and Napoleon is marching all over Italy and Austria. He then would take Verona along the way. On the second day of Easter, the populace drove the French out, and Napoleon brought an end to the Venetian Republic, and gave Verona to the Austrians. It was then taken back and made a part of the Napoleon-loving Kingdom of Italy. Then, after Napoleon got wrecked in 1814, it went back to the Austrians and became part of the Austrian Kingdom of Lombardy-Venetia. Then, during the 6-week War in 1816, Verona was freed from the Austrians, and it, along with the entirety of Venetia, became part of Italy. Peace for a couple years, then a guy who was Serbian kills an Austrian guy and his wife. In reaction to this, the Austrians declared war on Serbia, because, it's Serbia's fault, obviously. Since Serbia and Russia are allied, Russia declares war on Austria to protect Serbia. Since Germany is allied with Austria, Germany declares war on Russia to protect Austria. And in retaliation, the French go to war with Germany, since they have a pact with Russia. In order to get to France, the Germans have to trespass Belgium, which is also allied to Britain. After the Germans trespass Belgium, the British go to war with Germany, and thus we have a world war. Oh yeah, and the Ottomans and the Americans, they start joining in, but that's later on. But let's talk about Italy, and mostly Verona. Verona was a critical supply route for the Italians, as it funneled supplies for the Italian army as it fought a hard and costly war with the Austrians for control of the Alps. Then, after this chaotic and costly war, everyone is at peace. During this peaceful era, fascism breaks out. It's radical, it's new, and everyone loves Benito Mussolini now. It's such a peace-loving ideology. I mean, it spread during a peaceful time. Fascism is seen as a great way of governing a country. Then it appears in Spain, and in Germany. Everyone is happy until the Führer takes Poland, and Austria, and actually almost the entirety of Europe. Okay, Hitler is at war, and he allies with his trusty fascist friends, and the Japanese for some reason. Lucky for us, Italy is a fascist country, so of course it will be part of Hitler's I Love Fascism Friendship Alliance, plus Japan. How does Verona fit into this though? Well, Benito's son-in-law was executed there because of a conspiracy that supposedly went against the Republic of Italy. But enough about that. How about the Jews of Verona? What happened to them? So during this fascist era, they were hit by a bunch of lovely laws that prohibited them, and any non-Aryans, certain jobs and any government position in the Republic of Italy. Benito then listened to his favorite pal Hitler and lovingly placed the Jews out of his country, out of their homes, into happy camps, where they were so happy about 6 million of them died. Oh yeah, the Allies also invade Italy, and since your last name sounds like some sort of pasta, you probably won't do that well. The Italians poorly defend their own country, but Verona wasn't liberated until World War II was drawing to a close in 1945. It appears our man Hitler did some mistakes, like, oh I don't know, invade the Soviet Union, and thus had to pay a small payment of his entire Reich, and his life, and his dog's life, and his wife's, and also all of his cool fascist friends' lives. So now Italy was not a fascist cesspool. It is now filled with soldiers, since its close proximity to the Iron Curtain, or the Soviet Union. It always had a high military presence that only now is fading away, about 25 years after the Soviet Union's collapse. And it was there for nothing, since both sides realized that if they were to go to war, they would both die in a nuclear hell. So the Soviets fall and Verona is now peaceful. And since it recently became a World Heritage Site, it received a boom in tourism. Now, Verona, Italy is no longer fascist, or being stomped on by the French, or in a constant threat of being evaded or evaporated by a nuclear bomb by the Soviets. Verona, Italy still remains the most beautiful and economically sound city in northern Italy, and that quote still holds up. There is no world for me outside the walls of Verona.